Now, for those of you that were here yesterday, I assure you, when I announce a principality which starts with the letter A, I will be saying Asturias this morning, and not being misled by a different principality as I was yesterday. And it gives me great pleasure now we're slightly late, but we welcome here the Minister of Employment, Industry and Tourism of the Principality of Asturias. That is Mr. Isaac Pola, and we can invite him to address us now. Thank you very much indeed.
Muchas gracias, John.
Thank you very much, John. Authorities, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Good morning. Let me summarize to you Asturias' strategy as a smart destination and a sustainable destination. Our society, countries, productive systems, markets, and consumers that make it up in this 21st century are transforming themselves and changing at a high speed and with a high uncertainty so far unknown, a change of an era which significance we cannot only envision and we cannot fully apprehend. As part of this context, which is volatile, uncertain, and ambiguous, we can still be certain that tourism around the world, in Europe, in Spain, and in Asturias, is and will remain undoubtedly, for better or for worse, one of the driving forces for change, which is a change for the whole planet where we can all benefit, and that there is a risk that we will be one of the first victims. Still, we cannot afford whatsoever is to stay out of it. The signs that we see for those changes come from everywhere, from every sector and every territory, patterned in phenomena such as the globalization of the tourism economy in its production and marketing stage, the shortening of distances thanks to new transportation methods, the new ways to convey and manage information, competitiveness in every scale at a destination, environmental sustainability, and also cultural authenticity as the new differentiating factors, and also a tourism demand that has become all the more sophisticated, diversified, and specialized. The renamed Ministry for Industry, Trade and Tourism, same as in Asturias, and the UNWTO, specifically this Regional Ministry for Employment, Industry and Tourism that I'm honored to chair, we are all aware that we find ourselves at a crucial time, a time where we need to redefine the challenges and the tools in the planning, development and management of tourism destinations, specifically at a local sphere. And a good testimony to our commitment takes into account the challenges put forward by this World Conference on Smart Destinations that's gathered us for these 2 days. And we have a very interesting agenda, and we also have seen the success in the number of people who have attended, with people coming from half the world. We need to think globally and act locally. This is one of the well-known headlines and slogans for the administration in the turn of a millennium rather, because we cannot deny that in the municipalities and territories and regions and countries and all in all, from the destinations, we are now being impressed by the open questions still pending, generally speaking, and specifically in the tourism world, with the ongoing changes, the new trends, the new business models, and the new stakeholders, digital players as well, in the local destination cause uncertainty because they cannot be predicted. And in positive terms, we can say we have a huge potential and new opportunities for tourism that might help out the local community, innovative solutions that need to be set up in a more sustainable way, so that we can be more competitive and equal in our approach. In our context of globalization or tourism globalization, the local aspect becomes very much significant because we can have all the proposals that in reality give meaning to the lives of the people living and working in the municipality. And at the same time, we see that's a scale where we only find the real visualization of environmental sustainability as well as the cultural authenticity of the tourism practice. Challenge is clear, but still complicated. For destinations, we need to make tourism feasible using the advantages given by new technologies and digitization as well, responding to the needs and demands of tourists that are becoming all the more demanding, and always respecting and paying attention to public and private partners that are relevant to the destination. All around three managing apexes. So we need to have benefits for the environment and the inhabitants, quality and sustainability, and touristic development in accordance with the cultural authenticity and also the cultural identity or local identity. Back to the topic. If we understand that the starting point are the challenges that the tourism industry is tackling because of the changes happening around us. We live in a world where globalization, the extensive use of the internet, and the widespread use of cell phones, new platforms, new tools, pressure on the environment, climate change, and mass markets, new participation and agreement models for citizens, amongst others, are good examples that have become the priority challenges for the tourism agenda in most destinations in the world. These are questions that vary in their nature: technology, sustainability in all its aspects, regulation, standards, and governance itself, that all have an impact on different competences, and yet, when transformed into challenges, they share two main features: the speed at which the change is happening and how urgent it is that we tackle it. There's new open questions and also well-known problems, but at a different scale. So we need to face it together jointly with new tools and also new approaches from what we've learned. We are aware that we are starting a process for which we have no guarantee that we will succeed, but still we need to start it. As part of this new reference framework, where we need to promote in the Principality the starting of our own strategy for smart destinations, which is a good initiative. So we need to have this new agreed program for tourism in Asturias, where the horizon will be 2020, and this will be our priority for a strategy in our region. As we all know, this new strategic framework defines and develops the main principles of the product and the touristic model for the Principality of Asturias. Again, the horizon is 2020, in accordance with the principles for sustainability, globalization, deseasonalization, and balance, with the idea of guiding the tourism policy with all public and private partners, and with an aim to have a framework to have wealth, preservation, and added value to natural, cultural, and historical assets as well. This is a working program that is still very much valid, that started back in the day with the active participation and engagement of business people, private sectors, tourism boards, and everyone who's involved in the tourism activity, which is a good example of open and shared governance, and that sets out the common indications for the administration, regional administration, when it comes to tourism in Asturias, and which is developed from the positioning and marketing plan for Asturias, which is aimed at the market and tourism promotion as well. The regional strategy as a smart destination here in Asturias would be the first of its nature ever developed in Spain for our region, and so we are very much determined to start working immediately. So we have already covered part of the way, And as an articulating access, we will try to contribute and implement a destination and a tourism development model that is based on governance and also tourism co-responsibility, defined as a tourism space that is innovative and consolidated on a given infrastructure, technological, avant-garde, strategy for sustainable development of the territory that is accessible to everyone and that facilitates interaction and integration of the visitor into the environment, including increasing the experience quality and increasing the quality of life of the locals. Our tourism program for 2020 is focusing on demand and structures its promotion model around outbound markets, both domestic and international, and quality becomes a basis for a competitive edge or offer and an added value. But it is also true that the strategy of a smart destination for Asturias, which I'm willing to start right away, means to adopt the smart destination methodology developed by the Secretariat of State for Tourism in Spain and backed up by the UNWTO, which is a reference for many international bodies and that helps us act on those elements that are part of the most demanding challenges that the tourism has in front of itself, with 5 main working items: improving governance of smart destinations or tourist destinations, increase sustainability in all its variants, and increase social, financial, and environmental sustainability for tourism, favoring the digital transformation of companies and destinations that are highly technified nowadays, promoting innovation in every field of tourism activities, and promoting accessible tourism for everyone. We meant for all these principles to be gathered in the logotype that will be Asturias icon for Asturias as a smart destination. Naturally, we used the colors of this conference's logotype and we translated it into Asturias and shaped it as an apple symbolizing our territory. Calling for nature and culture, we also need to remember that our cider making culture is competing to become World Heritage, UNESCO's World Heritage. We want this, or we feel this picture is a great fit to our decision to have a smart destination from integration and sustainability, which is an icon that allows for several variations on itself to build meta images to convey complicated and diverse messages through different applications. Also, the leaves for the apple mean to illustrate the ability to grow, to have new initiatives in our green Asturias, which is one of the main assets, our nature. On top of it, this is empathetic and mixed and amicable icon. You see how we can grow the seed in us, and this shows how we are so very much determined to become smart destination. So we hope this picture, this icon, shows what our intentions are. Those colors there illustrate all 4 variations that come together as part of the smart destination concept, that is governance, sustainability, innovation, and accessibility. With these main principles and the methodology developed in Spain as a pioneer, the UNWTO has recognized that smart destinations are key for sustainable development and contribute not just to include improvements into the tourism sector, but for the whole of the society. And using tech solutions as put forward by the smart destination model, well, it contributes to improving the decision-making process, which need to be informed decisions and help us prioritize and also forecast potential scenarios, which is basic for a proper management of tourism and its impact. So, in a nutshell, and according to the UNWTO and what's part of their program priorities for the next 2 years, this is about making tourism smarter. This new strategy that we'll be promoting here in the Principality of Asturias, in which definition we are already working closely with the Secretariat of State for Tourism in Spain through Sagittaire, will be developed and designed so that territories, destinations, and companies in our tourism sector might face successfully all challenges and transformations as suggested by the new social, financial, and technological environment at a world level. This is a strategy which development will be coordinated and promoted by our regional ministry together with the national ministry for tourism, but needs to be enforced and developed locally, counting on the engagement and participation of territories, local entities, every stakeholder involved, and those interested in adhering to the new Smart Destination program for the Principality of Asturias. Naturally, we will once again count on all stakeholders, business, people association, all stakeholders for tourism cross-sectionally, same we've done with the 2020 Sustainable Tourism Program. One of the most demanding problems at a local level for tourism that might have an impact on the municipality competitiveness, and I've referred to them, are varying in nature, and they have an impact on several fields such as the environment, better water management, solid waste management, contamination and pollution, land use related to tourism. Also productive fabric that is tourist-oriented, profitability and employment creation linked to small companies, groceries, local providers for goods and services. Also preservation of local ways with large amount of tourists that are at the risk of losing their own local identity. So this is a multifaceted group with different realities where we need to implement our strategy from our regional ministry. We cannot stay alien to those challenges, and we really need to tap on the opportunity given by the Secretary of State for Tourism in order to use a model that is being implemented nationally and that is fully operational in some destinations, but still doesn't have the territorial approach contrary to what we want to have in the Principality of Asturias, again, as leaders or as pioneers in Asturias. Strategy to discuss questions such as guaranteeing sustainable development, growth that would not endanger the risk of this destination, managing the burden or the carrying capacity of these areas at specific times, also contributing to deseasonalizing and resetting the time and territorial flows, also increasing cost effectiveness, identifying the profiles of added value tourists, increase the redistribution of wealth from tourism amongst the locals themselves, improving the satisfaction of the tourist experience. These are all questions that will be part of the priority action of our strategy, for which the starting point will be the voluntary implementation of an analysis, destination analysis, known as the Smart Destination Diagnosis, and that development will allow us to have an objective and biased performance assessment around a series of criteria for all 5 axes that I mentioned before: governance, innovation, sustainability, technology, and accessibility. I said that already, but also we would measure that compared to other similar destinations in Spain and the rest of the world, where the Secretary of State and the UNWTO are promoting this model. And from this diagnosis, together with all stakeholders at the destination, we will produce an action plan for smart destinations. And so the destination will adhere to the strategy and further develop the program throughout several years, probably in a long period based on their priorities and options. Smart destination strategy for Asturias necessarily, as part of the goals, will have the following. First, promoting how we back up the competitiveness of destinations in Asturias because of the high dependence of regional competitiveness and how dependent it is on local competitiveness. Secondly, we need to have a tool to understand the performance of all territories within Asturias based on objective criteria that can be easily compared, again, according to 5 axes for smart destination strategy. Thirdly, we need to identify best practices for planning and local management in Asturian destinations and use them as a value, as a source of inspiration and best practice example for others. Fourthly, we need to see the competitiveness and the interdependence in different territories to satisfy the tourist needs, trying to have proper coordination and action unity for tourism. From the point of view of the regional ministry, this strategy will be a perfect opportunity to promote coordination amongst Asturian destinations and within each of them, cross-sectionally, for all those responsible for those competences that will have a direct impact on tourism. For example, culture, land planning, accessibility, mobility, safety and security, technology, quality, cleaning, waste management, waste collection, etc. One of the main advantages of our tourism smart destination strategy would be to have the integrating vision that we get from a smart destination, because it promotes mainstream action in every area. We can have a clear model where we have different competences from the administration and not just tourism. And it is the very much needed coordination in order to maximize the efficacy of all measures in the field of tourism, as well as optimizing public resources. We are still very much aware that nature is our main asset, and the one recommending us is our citizens. So we will be working in that regard in 9 strategic lines that will help us develop our goals as having defined, and I've mentioned this here, articulating them in several axes. So first line is governance, reinventing the tourism organization to evolve into this idea of a smart destination efficacy according to the goals. Efficiency for resource uses, also PPPs and consensus, where we have different stakeholders involved, co-responsibility in the decision making and financing, transparency of the tourism sector for the society as a whole, stability and financial self-sufficiency, market orientation, mainstreaming through the participation of every stakeholder. Second strategic line, sustainability, in all its definitions and of all types. Sustainable development of the resources that are given and their use, sustainability, social, environmental, and financial sustainability, globalization, deseasonalization, abundance for all territories, whether urban or rural, hinterlands or coast areas. Third line, accessibility, physical and digital accessibility everywhere. As a differentiating factor for the physical environment, we would have an integral physical accessibility for public and private facilities, museums, hotels, etc. And then accessibility for the virtual environment, and a strategy to adjust websites with apps and also promotional tourism materials for full accessibility. Fourth strategic line, connectivity. Territories that are well connected, where we have data available in every channel. We need to integrate sensorics and connectivity into a true smart destination strategy, compared to one-off initiatives that have no global approach. We will have a Wi-Fi model that needs to be a free model adjusted to the needs of the destination, that needs to be financially sustainable and beneficial for the locals, trying to integrate connectivity and sensorics into information systems for management. Fifth, smart tourism information systems, which is a tool to manage large data for modeling and for different information flows. We will have a repository of tourism information. We'll automate processes for tourism data management by the use of architecture of sensors in the smart territory. Visualizing data, we will try to make it as simple as attractive as possible. We will have compared marketing with all the destinations. That will be benchmarking. We will open the tourism data in order to have it reused, and we will open it for the visualization of the situation.
Our sixth action line should be and will be 360-degree marketing. That is segmenting tourism based on data, adaptive, and with a plan where we can have the sustainable tourism program working hand in hand with what we do with our leading tourist products and services, focusing on both the supply and demand sides and helping the marketing channels. The eighth action line should be marketing and commercialization. The digital communication strategy should be well structured with a good social media plan, well aligned with the promotion to tourist plans. Starting before tourists start thinking about their trip, during their stay here with us, and then afterwards in the way they assess their experience. The eighth line should also include an integrated, professional, and agile action in the different channels with one-stop window and customization of the supply. We need to coordinate the different stakeholders, both on the public and private spheres, and with resources with good interoperability at the destination with fast analysis. And the ninth line will be innovation. We will do our best to have an ecosystem of open innovation focused on particular ingredients where clusters will be the seed for change. We will have intra-entrepreneurial formulae for tourism, being very close to the market all the time. And then something very important will be having open channels for innovation to be practical. So these ninth lines, we still need to look at them into more detail in conversations with the different stakeholders, just like we did for our plan for Sustainable Tourism 2020. This is a quantum leap for our region, for Asturias, as far as smart tourism is concerned. We have been working to pave the way for the last few months, and we are truly committed as a regional government. We want our region to rank high as a smart tourist destination. And that was done thanks to the collaboration of all the different stakeholders with an eye on public-private partnerships, really believing that digitalization and online promotion, including not just the internet but the social media, that's part of our success with our almost 600,000 followers now on social media, with our content in our official portal, which is accessible and collaborative, where tourist companies can access then their own booking facilities. We want to open a debate with the tourism department, the different stakeholders, because we want to mainstream these actions as much as possible in our regional government. We want to promote the sectoral policy through clusters well aligned with a smart specialization strategy in our region. where we fortunately now have the rural tourism cluster with over 50 companies already. There's no doubt that this international conference has been an additional driver, and we can see that it is already opening new channels and ways for the future. Let me now give you a few technological examples that we've been working on with two of our sponsors for this conference, Telefonica and Amadeus. Our work with Telefonica, thanks to Smart Steps, their big data application, has helped us have a good diagnosis of our tourist flows right now in the region. Now we can separate information for Spanish, international tourists coming to different destinations at different times of the year and times of the day. We know about that flow. We know where they come from, which regions in Spain, which areas in our region they favor, and we have other information such as the points of access to our region. We have good segmentation for age, gender, or even buying power. And we also have details for the different tourist seasons about the tourist flows with specificities for the higher and lower seasons. There's no doubt this is a truly powerful tool that will help us better adjust supply in a differentiated manner and also the demand, what tourists expect from us. Thanks to our collaboration with Amadeus, we now have a very comprehensive analysis of the booking of travelers into our region. We know about their habits, when they fly, how much in advance they book their trip, which areas they favor, what searches they run for their bookings. We know how they organize their itineraries, their main hubs. We have studied the bookings for the different channels, tour operators, travel agents, direct sales, and so on. And in particular, we have done so in a specific manner for Latin America and the US. We have followed hashtags, keywords that they use, both generally speaking for the region, but also for our most popular products and services, most popular areas such as the coast, St. James's pilgrimage route, and so on. So these are just two examples of work we've been doing to, as I said, pave the way. So we can make the most of the information sources that we are tapping into right now. That will open a whole new range of possibilities for our smart tourist destinations. I am fully convinced the strategy that we have termed as Asturias, a smart destination, I'm sure I was saying it will be welcome by local governments, by the businesses, and that it will help them better develop and raise awareness in their specific markets. There's no doubt that the competitive edge for our tourist and destinations, just like anywhere else in the world, will very much depend on differentiation, having added value products which are technology intensive, and we need to be able to preempt changes that are already taking place in the demand side in the tourist market. We need to be able to respond swiftly and efficiently. And this is why we want this new strategy for a smart tourist territory, focusing on destinations, thinking of them, because we are truly aware it's destinations that are at the core of the actions we need to undertake in this industry. because they know about demand. They are the social fabric, and they're the ones who can help with sustainability of resources. We want our natural paradise, the region of Asturias that we hope you're enjoying and that you will come back to. We want it to be a smart tourist territory. And we know that's not just a destination in our journey, but it should be the consequence of continuous improvement if we make the most of the resources we already have. Being very much aware that our main asset is our nature, our culture, our heritage, and our best influencers and prescribers, our citizens, the Asturian population. I would like to just mention that Fuencisla, our dear colleague, suddenly felt unwell and fainted, apparently. We just want to tell Fuencisla at the State Secretariat for Tourism, we hope you're well and that you get, if you're not, that you get well very, very soon. Thank you very much for your attention.
Salim.